Okay, so UC Berkeley riots. I've been looking up information on this. Once again, for a lot of this stuff, what's the point of my commentary? So many other people have said this so much better. Except, maybe a bit of redundancy isn't bad here. Because this is a really complicated, very serious issue, and I'm staring at some of the headlines on this. Quote, riots caused by armed individuals in ninja-like uniforms. They're ninjas. God damn it. So, I wanted to intro this with just a factual account of what the hell the UC Berkeley riots are. And I can't find one. I can't find no one's reporting this as news. It's in the news, but it's not being reported as news. It's being reported as... it's being spun. Like every which way. It's like ninjas... goddamn ninjas. And... you have people trying to justify this, people condemning this, but you have no one just explaining what this is. What this is, so, dear God, I'm going to be the one to piece this together. What a bunch of bullshit. From what I understand, Milo Yiannopoulos is going to do a talk on UC Berkeley and on February 1st, and there are protests that became very violent, very, very destructive, over $100,000 worth of damage. Fires were started. People were beaten up in the streets, apparently, and it's just everyone has this spin on it. Okay, so what do I have to say about this? Alright, let's go through a few things. One, it's Milo Yiannopoulos. It's some guy. And I have yet to listen to a Milo Yiannopoulos speech that struck me as even terribly controversial. I mean, maybe I just haven't seen enough. I keep looking for the Nazi speech, I guess. I mean, it's mostly him talking about we should just get past this looking at people as collective groups and stop looking at skin color and individualism and stuff like that. It's not exactly the Nuremberg speech, is what I'm saying. But once again, maybe I'm just not... maybe there is one and I haven't seen it yet, but I haven't seen it yet. In other words, this doesn't seem like the thing to protest. I don't know why you'd protest this. This is a free speech advocate. This is a freedom advocate. This is... where was I? What do I have to say about this thing? I think the news on it isn't the news on it. That doesn't make any sense. It's not the event itself. The event was Milo Yiannopoulos, a free speech and freedom advocate, wasn't allowed to speak. There were no arguments, as near as I can tell, against it. Just everyone called him a fascist and just started setting things on fire and wrecking ATMs, and from what I understand, utterly trashed a Starbucks. And I kind of dig Starbucks. I actually dig them a lot there, especially in the summer. Their milkshake, frappuccinos are awesome. If it's not obvious, I'm super tired right now. But that doesn't seem to be the news, because college campuses shutting down events that people don't want to see isn't news. That's something that's been happening for years. That's why he's been speaking. It's one of the things he's been talking about. And it's not the protest part of that. Once again, that's something that's protest on campus? Gosh. That's not even the thing. The extreme violence of this one you know, like setting things on fire, trashing things, and so on. Even then, that's not that extraordinary. It's not that unusual. The news behind this story, the UC Berkeley riots, seems to be not the event, but everyone's reaction to it. Because this has somehow been polarizing. And this doesn't strike me as something that should be. It's like, look, truthfully, absolutely truthfully, hand to heart, I gotta believe that a lot of this was a knee-jerk reaction. It's like, hey, we're angry at stuff, we want to break stuff, we want to yell at people and shit like that, and get crazy as only a crowd can do. I mean, yeah, they set fire to stuff, but I've seen people set fire to couches in the street for no good reason at all. I mean, just people got into a big group, and mobs have an odd mentality. Condemning it seems the right thing to do. It's like, look, this is violence and destruction for no good reason. It accomplishes nothing. And violence isn't the answer to this in particular. This is just some guy speaking. But you have people, and I don't mean random nameless people, I mean like the faculty at this school defending it. Like, this was a great thing that they destroyed that Starbucks. I mean, like, I'm looking at quotes from the staff, the faculty of UC Berkeley. Deborah Blocker apparently is a professor of French language or something like that. Quote, mostly this was a typical black bloc action in a few waves, very well organized and very efficient. They attacked property, but they attacked it very sparingly, destroying just enough university property to obtain a cancellation order for the event and make sure that no one in the crowd got hurt. What? There's not just enough property damage, and a guy got hit with a shovel. The guy was beaten unconscious. And what? And what's more is, why would a professor think that's awesome? That someone they don't like was silenced. God, I've been doing, like, this is one of my first videos. It's just like, you should just let people talk. Really, the way to counteract a speech you don't like is to ignore it. I mean, if it gets no coverage, it gets no coverage. I mean, there's there are absolutely, without any question, lots of speeches and speakers on UC campuses, UC Berkeley or wherever, where, no one paid attention to it and no one knows about it, so no one cares. I mean, what if, just no one showed up to the Milo Yiannopoulos speech? Like I said, I haven't seen all of his stuff, just a couple of them. It was only this brought more attention to Milo Yiannopoulos, and that's it's kind of where I'm getting at this thing. This is a very not effective way to argue something. It's just making Milo Yiannopoulos look better. He didn't break anything. He didn't even get to speak. And now it's like, well, why didn't... It begs the question, why didn't they want him to speak? What does this guy have to say? And then you start delving into what this guy has to say. Someone I really probably wouldn't have looked into had it not been for crazy riots. And it's like, oh, it seems mostly just perfectly reasonable. I mean, his goals of letting people talk more and have more freedom kind of align very much with my own. Thanks, UC Berkeley riots, for bringing this to my attention. Goodwins Law, or Goodwins Law of Hitler Analogies, is it's an internet adage that asserts that the longer an online discussion goes on, the probability of someone bringing up Hitler or comparing someone that the argument is about, or someone making the argument to Hitler, will eventually become one. Like, sooner or later, the Hitler's going to be there. The Führer is just inevitable. This has often been kind of confused with a corollary associated with Goodwin's Law of Hitler analogies. The second someone mentions Hitler, the thread is over. The thread is ended, and whoever mentioned Hitler lost the argument. I think that's a good corollary. And worth bringing up, because God fucking damn it if Hitler isn't showing up in arguments quite a lot lately. And I defend that assertion. That is a very good corollary. Because right now I'm seeing people bringing up Nazis a lot. Like the guy who got punched randomly in the face. It's like, well, he was a Nazi. And defending just randomly punching guys. I mean, I guess that's sort of the impetus behind this. I just think, because not everyone else is saying this, I think I should throw in and say it. Don't randomly punch people. Yes, even if they are a Nazi. And the thing is, in that argument, in that instance, that guy wasn't a Nazi. I mean, people were heckling him, and it's like, do you hate black people? He's like, no, not really, not at all. In fact, trying to say his stuff, like, no, this is what I actually believe. Like, he might actually believe stuff I find utterly reprehensible. We'll never know because he didn't get to speak. I mean, God damn it, it's like it's a thing I keep bringing up. Like, if you disagree with someone, let them speak. Let them, either make an argument that you can then, disassemble or counter or whatever. Or if they're particularly foolish, they'll just make themselves look foolish. Just let them speak. Let them destroy themselves. But this guy was just like sitting there trying to talk. Like, these are the things I believe. And people going, oh, you must hate people of color and so on. And he's like, no, I really don't. And once again, just trying to rapidly counter their arguments, and then it's like that's not right. That's not how that should go down. And then online, well, yes, you should absolutely punch a Nazi. People you disagree with. First of all, this guy wasn't a Nazi. He was not wearing a swastika. He didn't get to say anything particularly Nazi-ish. If they'd let him, I suppose. I mean, what was the argument? He would have said something risible if we'd let him talk? That's true of anyone. I mean, sooner or later, someone's going to say something out there. So just punch everyone preemptively? That doesn't make sense. It's a dumb argument. And apparently major news outlets and professors and stuff like that are defending Nazi punching. Just randomly hitting guys. One, it's not cool. Two, God damn it, I have to go through a list of this about why not to punch Nazis. God damn it. I swear to God, I would murder people for the opportunity to be in bed for like another hour. Alright, why you don't punch Nazis? One, let's go through this. Don't punch anyone. Don't randomly, do not incite violence. I'm a libertarian. Part of libertarianism, modern 21st century libertarianism, is the non-aggression principle. It's enshrined. Any discussion of libertarianism nowadays incite aggression against someone. There are lots of examples where people bring up why you might want to incite violence, why there's some need to, but they seem very specialized situations. As a general rule, don't instigate violence or force against other people. It's a good rule of thumb. In a polite society, it should be the rule of thumb. Two, how do you know they're Nazi? The guy who got punched didn't say he was a Nazi, didn't have any affiliation with Nazi Germany. He was not a neo-Nazi. He was nothing like that. Just calling him a Nazi is an analogy. You're saying, I think this guy is so offensive, he's like a Nazi, but that's not the same as saying someone is an actual Nazi. So, some of the arguments I've been seeing, well, of course you should punch them because they're Nazis, and that's the end of the argument. That's absurd. They aren't really Nazis, for one. Two, if anyone who you can make an analogy towards, and this really becomes a third item related, if it's just a matter of I can make an analogy, someone's Nazi-like to me, then that can be applied to anyone. Then everyone's going to get a face full of fist. Because to someone out there, something you say is going to be offensive to someone, somewhere, at some time. Do you want to get punched in the face? Probably not. Why else do you not punch a Nazi? Because you lose the argument. You do. You really lose the argument. There's a turn of phrase, he's resorted to violence. He or she has resorted to violence, or this group resorted to violence, regardless of the context. The reason the word resorted is used there, it means this is a last sort of, like, we had no choice, in other words. We had to resort to violence because nothing else was working. Usually in that context, it's you have nothing else to do. You can't, there's nothing else for you to do. You have no choice but to use violence. If that's your opening move, is a right hook, that implies that you don't have an argument, that you have nothing else, that you don't have a reasoned argument, you don't have a counter-argument, you don't have anything. You're just, I really don't like that guy, and I don't have any other way of counteracting what he's saying except to hit him. Then there's no argument there, you've just lost. More reasons not to punch a Nazi related to that point. It implies that whoever this is isn't necessarily morally superior. There's no measure there, but they're at least more reasoned than you. They were trying to talk while you resorted to violence. And if that person truly was a Nazi, you've just become worse than a Nazi. Congratulations. And no one wants to do that. I would think. I don't know anymore. I just don't know. It gives whoever it is the moral high ground. And if this is truly a risible individual, if they're truly offensive or perhaps dangerous, you don't want to give them the moral high ground. You don't want to give them that logical advantage. So, just don't do it, because if what's being discussed is important, then treat it importantly, deferentially. Make sure that the good argument wins by not doing stupid shit like randomly hitting a dude. I guess. I'm rambling at this point. It's like I sound to me like I'm me, and I've been randomly called into a kindergarten class to, be the substitute teacher for a few hours. And it's like, I'm not the person to do this. Why am I here? Why am I even having this argument? So, I guess I'm going to just stop this video and say, don't randomly punch a Nazi. That's stupid. Oh, God. So don't randomly hit guys that you disagree with. Duh. I'm super tired and I have stuff to do. I'm out.